Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. This is Carmen with Elemental Designs. Today we're going to be working on an art journal page. This page has been taken from a vintagey kind of photo album. The ones that have the plastic film wrapping each of the pages. I've gone ahead and removed that plastic film and used some of my own DIY gesso to basically protect the surface and add also like kind of like a layer to kind of make the page a little bit non-porous. I've gone ahead and added some papers, some bits and pieces of collaging to this. You can find things like this from junk mail, old books, books that have been thrown away and things like that. So I'm just adding a little bit of that, and I'm using DECOART's heavy gel, a medium, in order to adhere these down. I've also gone ahead and taken out some paper from My Mind's Eye. It's a little 6x6 paper pad, and I've used two different pages from here. I really like the pattern on this one. It's got like a grid kind of pattern to it, and I thought that looked really nice against the text. And as you guys can see, I kind of place the paper down and then kind of decide what angle I want it, and then I kind of tear at it from there. It kind of allows you a little bit more control if you're looking to fill in specific areas with like specific type shapes, if you will. I've also gone ahead and removed from this video a lot of the drying process, so you will see little bits and pieces of drying, but you won't really see too much of it. I just want you guys to keep it in the back of your mind that I do dry in between each layer to make sure that I don't cross-contaminate the colors and things of that nature, and just to make sure that every layer is ready to go for the next layer that's going to go on top. Okay, so here I'm adding a little bit more collaging. I felt like it just needed to be filled in just a little bit more, so I'm just adding a few more pieces, and that'll be that for this part of the collaging process for this video. Now, to remove some of the edges and to kind of blend it in a little bit more seamlessly with the backgrounds, I've gone ahead and just taken some of my DIY gesso, and I'm just kind of going over it. It's loose enough that it's kind of translucent, but not all the way translucent, so I do still get to see the color of the paper in the background, and I also still get to see some of the text, but I also get to protect it at the same time by adding the layer of gesso. And again, I'm going to dry every layer between each layer. Now, off camera, I've gone ahead and cut out some of my flowers that I'm going to be using for this. And I've gone through my stamps and kind of found this stamp. I believe I got this stamp from eBay quite some time ago, but I just love the butterflies. So I'm gonna go ahead and use some of these stamps to just create some watercolored ish butterflies, and you'll see what I mean by watercolor ish, because I am using water soluble products per se, but they're not, you know. So because I know that I'm gonna be adding watered down color to this, I went ahead and just gessoed it again. And I'm not so worried about losing some of the lines on here, as long as I can still see the frame of the butterfly, because I am going to go and re-stamp over this. But you can see that the gesso is still translucent enough that you can make out all of the details in the background. And I made this gesso with water, baby powder, and glue, and a little bit of white paint. So as you guys can see, I pulled out some of my water soluble mediums. So I got some Tim Holtz distress crayons, as well as Faber-Castell's water soluble crayons, and that's what I'm going to be using to apply my color for this part of it. And I do want to apologize if my head pops in and out of the shot. I didn't realize that I was putting my whole face into the video until I rewatched it, and I was like, oh my god. I was able to take a lot of that out, but you guys are going to see a little bit of my head popping into the shot here and there. So what I like about this technique especially is the fact that because I am adding like watercolors and things like that. You would think that you're not going to really be able to see it. It doesn't really look too pleasant as of right now. But once I add another layer of stamp over it, after I've cut it all in, it just makes the world a difference. And then everything looks more segmented, like how it's supposed to look like on a butterfly. And I really like the way that these butterflies came out. They look so pretty, and they look even better in life, like watching them, you know, having them in my hands. They came out so much prettier. So I just wanted to add a little pop of like red, just to add something a little bit bolder, and that way I don't make the butterflies look exactly the same. I wanted them all to just have a little bit of individuality, look a little bit different. So after I've dried them, here I am restamping them. As you can see, now that I've added the next layer of stamp over the watercolored butterflies, they just came to life. They look so much better. Also, I do want to apologize if my if the frame gets shaky. I've been kind of fighting with how I have my camera set up. I have to kind of fix that because it kind of shakes with any kind of movement, and unfortunately, because I was reaching for so many things, I kept shaking the camera. So I do apologize for that, but I'm gonna be fixing that, so hopefully that won't be a problem moving forward. But I love how these butterflies came out, you guys. I think that they came out super pretty, and you don't need to have any kind of expertise when it comes to coloring. This is very loose kind of coloring, especially since you're going to be restamping over it. It kind of like, it doesn't really matter how, you know, how the coloring really goes, because once you stamp over it, it's just going to divide everything up, and it's just going to look so much better. I did go back into some of the butterflies, some of the edges, and just went into them with, like, you know, some of the darker colors, just to kind of give them a little bit more detail around the edges. Plus, my stamping wasn't 100% perfect, so I had a little bit of spaces where I guess I didn't color I didn't hit it with the alignment properly, so I had to go back into it and kind of color those areas up, just to make sure that everything was good to go. Now for this part of it, I'm going to go ahead and add some stenciling again. It's all about textures, it's all about layers. So on this layer, I'm going to be doing some stenciling. This stencil is a distressed Harlequin stencil by DECORATIVE, and it comes in size, and the size that it comes in is a 12 by 12. Although I have gone ahead and cut that down in half, just so that it's easier for me to kind of maneuver it when I'm using it on the page. And I'm using DECOART's Dimensional Effects texture medium or texture paste, and just a Dollar Tree spatula to kind of apply the medium everywhere. And again, I'm going to go ahead and dry this thoroughly before I proceed to the next. You want to make sure that it's very dry. So I decided for this art journal page that I was going to brayer my colors on. So for that, I'm using my Speedball brayer. I got this at Hobby Lobby, but any brayer will work. But I think this one works a little bit better because it's very spongy. The roller, it's very spongy. Some of the brayers are more stiff, or they're made I guess more sturdier, more harder, but since this one's kind of squishy, it does kind of pick up the colors really nicely, and it also lays it in and is able to get into more of the grooves because it's more flexible of a roller. So I'm applying all of my distress oxides and inks with this brayer, and I mainly stuck with the colors of blue, green, and yellow, and a little bit of brown at the base, just to make it a little bit darker at the base. And I love how it gives it that textured look in the background, even though there's not much texture going on, but it gives it the look of there being a whole bunch of texture on it because of the way that the brayer applies the color. And I did try to pick up some impressions from the stencil, from the diamond stencil in the back, but it didn't really pick that up too much, so I just let it go. On to the next one. It's all about experimenting, right? So here I wanted to break up some of that blue and add like some sunshine in the background, if you will. So I went in with my fossilized amber and just kind of added some of that yellow in there. And at first I just applied the color as it was. I applied it, the ink, without diluting it, so that I make sure that I get some of that vibrant, you know, fossilized amber on there. And then I watered it down so that it can kind of mix and mingle with some of the other colors that are there. Because this is water reactive, you guys, if you apply water to them, they are going to move. You're able to lift them. You're able to do all different sorts of things with them. As you're going to see here, I did go ahead and just splatter some water around so that I can go ahead and lift some of that color. And I just used some of my scrap pages there. And now it's time to add some splatters in the background, and I decided to go with this dazzling metallic DECOART paint. Okay. And I absolutely love it. And again, I will have most of this information in the description area down below. So if you open that up, you'll find most of the information there. And again, obviously I dried between each layer. So now it's time to start placing some of these things and figuring out, okay, what I want. Am I missing anything? What do I need to do? What is my next step here? So just kind of bunching up these flowers and just putting things down, just kind of trying to figure out, okay, where I want to go with this. I realized that I needed some stems, and so I just used one of my scraps and start cutting some little stems out. And I'm just going to glue them to the back of each flower. And I'm also going to be adding some dimension to some of the flowers by just cutting out little tiny little bits of chipboard that I'm going to be adding to the back of the flowers, so that I can make some flowers look like they're in the front and some of them look like they're in the back. Depending on how big the flower was, depending on how big I made the stem, I tried to kind of give the smaller flowers smaller stems and the bigger flowers bigger stems. And by bigger, I mean wider, thicker. I didn't add any leaves to this, which I think is my one little regret for this page. Because I don't know, I think I either forgot or I don't know, but I know that I did this video in 2 parts, so I think I must have forgot to cut the little leaves out. I must have had it in the forefront, but I just forgot. So this page is gonna go without. So I'm going to use some of that heavy gel matte medium to start gluing some of these down. They already have the little bits and chipboards in the back. Some of them again don't, so that I can glue them straight to the background. That way they look like they're far. And then the other ones are a little bit more lifted up, more raised, so they look like they're more forward. And I really enjoy this kind of art journaling. It's very freeing, it's very relaxing. You don't have to do too much overthinking as far as what you want to do, how you want to do it. As you guys saw, super simple. I used a page that had some really pretty cut aparts, or a page that was easy to cut apart, I should say. And I didn't really have any butterflies, and I wanted to use butterflies, so I just used one of my stamps and stamped it down, gessoed over it, and then I colored it in. If you're using like mixed media paper or some other paper, some specialty papers that you can go ahead and apply wet mediums to, then you don't have to go through the process of gessoing them in order to color them. I did that because I was using a regular sheet of book paper, and that would have fallen apart once I started adding water, so on and so forth. That just gives it a little bit more durability for adding other mediums and other textures and other things like that. So now that I've gone ahead and done that, and I've made sure to apply matte gel over the flowers, I'm able now to use my Faber-Castell Pitt pens. As you guys saw, I did try to use like a makeup, like the blending brushes to kind of blend that color, and I really didn't like it too much. I think that even the smallest brush was a little too big for the small flowers, so I just decided to do it with my finger. So I apply a little bit of color and then kind of smudge it in. And that's basically how I end up doing for most of the flowers. You're gonna see bits and pieces of this process, but you're not gonna see like every single flower being colored, but you are gonna see bits and pieces of the flowers being colored in. And again, this is Faber-Castell Pitt markers or Pitt pens. They come in this size. They also come in a fatter barrel as well. Those are the big brush Pitt pens or Pitt markers, I think, at that point. but they're India ink. They're not water soluble. Once they're dry, they're permanent. So you only have a small amount of time to add any shading, do any blending, things of that nature. You are working really fast when you are using these markers. So you want to make sure that, again, you have a non-porous surface. For these kinds of markers, when you're wanting to blend in, it has to be on a non-porous surface. If you try to blend this on any regular paper, any other kind of paper, it is not going to work unless it's non-porous. So in order to make it more plastic-like, you have to apply a layer of matte medium over it, and then you'll be able to use this. Now, if you're using alcohol markers, then that's a different process. Those will blend with each other because the inks themselves are made to blend with each other. So that one's a little bit different. But obviously they're going to blend a little bit better on some papers than they are on others. But I just love the vibrancy that it adds. It just adds so much vibrancy to the page. The flowers pop now a lot more. They don't blend in so much to the background. Now you can actually see the flowers for what the flowers are. So this is a really nice technique to apply to your art journal pages, especially when you feel like some of your elements are getting lost, or if you've made maybe your color pattern or your color palette are they too similar and you just need some things to pop. Pull your markers out, pull your coloring pencils, or even your watercolor pencils if you have, and add some color, add some more color to the images after you've laid them down. And remember, adding shadows around images as well makes images pop out. You can either make the area behind them lighter, or you can make it darker depending on the images that you're using. But there are a lot of different ways that you can make certain images kind of like stand out. I look forward to being able to bring to you guys more Monday art journal pages. That is the goal for 2020, you guys, is to be consistent and to upload a video every single Monday for art journaling. And also on Wednesdays, I'm going to be doing junk to treasures mixed media projects, and those will be projects using like recyclables, things that we're going to be disposed of, or maybe things that I have lingering around that I've actually debated, like, am I going to throw this out or am I going to keep this, things of that nature, and then we'll see what we do. Every single video is going to be a new adventure, a new journey, so I look forward to sharing that with you. Here goes my little head again, popping into the scene. I'm so sorry, you guys. And thank God my hair was at least a little bit combed, because sometimes I'm looking crazy, you guys. Especially when it's early in the morning. Oh my goodness. I'm very happy to be back and creating and doing all of those things, so super excited about that. I did touch base a little bit of that on my channel update video that I did. I also shared with you guys some of my new chipboard designs that I'm going to be incorporating into my mixed media projects, both on my Saturdays live as well as at my Junk to Treasures, and hopefully I'll be able to incorporate some of those into my art journal pages as well. But I'm super excited about that. And I have more designs coming. So if you guys saw that video, or if you haven't seen that video, check that video out. And if you like what you see, let me know in the comment section. I will greatly appreciate to hear you guys' feedback. So for this page, now that I've done my coloring, I love how this is coming out. The background looks like the sky. Like, I just absolutely love how this is coming out. I've decided to use one of my chipboard leftovers, and I had this really big circle just kind of lingering around, and I'm like, you know what, I think that this will make perfect for like creating a bubble, or making something that looks kind of like a bubble, or like a halo, if you will. So I decided to go ahead and use this round stencil to kind of like create like this bubble, kind of like floating bubbles effect, if you will. And I'm using my distress inks, and I'm using a blending brush in order to apply the ink and create kind of like this halo, or the silhouette effect of like these bubbles. And I'm also going to be using my Posca pen just to add a little bit of separation here and there. Just kind of help the bubbles stand out from each other a little bit more. And you can do this with either a lighter color or even a darker color. Here you're going to see me do a little bit of both. So I'm kind of going into it with my Posca pen, my Posca marker, and just kind of adding a little bit of that outline. And I'm going to do it to all of the bubbles that I create on this page. And I wanted to use the three main colors that I used, which was the the amber, fossilized amber, cracked pistachio, and I believe it was broken china for the most part that I used throughout this page. Now with me in art journaling, sometimes I feel like adding sentiments, sometimes I'll add some kind of wording to it. But for me, art journaling is more therapeutic, and so because it's more therapeutic and I use it more for that purpose, I don't always include a sentiment into my art journal pages. It all really depends if I find the perfect sentiment that I kind of base my artwork around that sentiment and not the other way around. Sometimes I just feel like creating, like today, this is one of those days that I just felt like creating. I just wanted to play with my mediums. I just wanted to relax and just unwind and I think about anything. So I wasn't really thinking about, oh, I need a sentiment for this, or I need to put this in here, I need to put that in there. I just kind of allow it to kind of flow, and I just like to color and just do those kinds of things. And basically that's what this art journal page is about. So some of them you are going to see that they're going to have sentiments because they're supposed to have a sentiment. Sometimes it's not really something that I'm like, oh, I have to do this, or it's not an art journal page if I don't add a sentiment. That's not the case for me. It's not the case. For me, it's an art journal page regardless if it's got a sentiment or not. Plus, what I'm gonna be doing with these pages, what I started to do with these album pages, because that's basically what they are. They're from an album. So what I started to do with these album pages is use the back to actually record how I created this page in the first place. So I wrote in the back of this page all the materials that I used. I think it'll help me with note taking, especially for being able to share with you guys the videos and things of that nature. But I wrote like all the products that I used, all the different steps that I took in order to achieve the final look of this page. So that's kind of what I'm doing with the backs of this. And then once I'm done, I'm actually reapplying the plastic to it. So I'm not gluing it down or anything like that, but I just kind of repositioned it. And because the back is still free and it hasn't been affected by gesso or anything like that, I'm still able to use the cling wrap and kind of put the cling back on it and cover the page. And again here, just adding some more marker, adding some more PITT pens, and just choose depending on the color scheme of each, then that's the colors that I picked. But I really love how this page came out, and we are about the end of it. We're reaching the end. So just added a few little things, like I went ahead and added the little butterfly antennas. And again, I feel like this page is complete. You guys will let me know, do you feel that your art journal page needs to have a sentiment? Is that a must have for you? Or are you okay with, do your projects feel incomplete, basically is what I'm trying to ask. Do your projects feel incomplete when you don't add a sentiment? Or is a sentiment a must have for you? I would love to hear what you guys think about that. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you've watched this video to the end. I will greatly appreciate your feedback. As always, if you enjoyed this video and this process, and if you like what you saw, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I welcome you to join. I do all different kinds of mixed media art projects, and you're gonna see all different kinds of fun stuff here. So join me, subscribe, hit that all, because I do also put a lot of information on my community posts. And moving forward, I'm also going to be doing like little pop-up giveaways that are going to be from my community posts. So yes, super cool, right? So I really do enjoy sharing with you guys, and I'm hoping to be able to share more with you moving forward. Here I thought that maybe the page needed a little bit something, so I went ahead and just grabbed a few caps from a pen and one of my little ink sprays and just added some white paint. I'm also going to do the same thing with some black, just to add more bubbles, smaller bubbles, right, to the page, just to kind of I guess fill in some of the spaces that I felt more open. And with that being done, you guys, I think we have reached the end. All I'm going to do now is trim off these little bits and pieces. And that is it, you guys. Please make sure that you check out my social media if you want to see close-up pictures of this project. I do share on my Facebook. I'm trying to get better at sharing on my Instagram. So please make sure that you check out the description area down below. I apologize for the racket in the background. Please make sure that you check out that description area down below, where you're going to find all the ways of getting in contact with me and all the useful information regarding this video and other videos on my channel. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for spending some time with me and watching this, and I will greatly appreciate some of your feedback. And I will catch you guys on the next Monday's art journal page. But definitely make sure to check out me during the week, because I'm always uploading something, you guys. At least that's the goal for this year. Thank you all so much, and have a blessed one. Bye.